Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and it's time for the third and final part of the Q&A, so let's go ahead and knock this out. All right, first question. Jason, I understand I am still a novice, so my whole body is weak, but I just wanted to ask if your novice program will make my biceps wider when looked at from the front view. I'm 6'1" and my biceps insert very high. I can easily fit 3 fingers in between the biceps and forearms. My biceps look okay from the side and flex, but if you look at them from the front, I look so ridiculously skinny it's embarrassing. If I just got significantly stronger in pulling exercises and grew my triceps more, would my arms look lighter from the front? Thanks. Yeah, honestly, brother, bicep growth itself is probably not, unless you add enormous amounts of muscle, is not going to make your biceps look wider from the front. What you're thinking of is going to be like lateral or really medial tricep head, both of those really lateral and medial tricep heads, and the brachialis. Fortunately for you, look at what's included in the novice program. Yeah, we got curls and all that stuff, but you have 15 sets of pronated rows every week. You need to understand that the brachialis gets worked tremendously on those, right? That gets a primary mover. Brachialis gets a lot of development from all those double overhand grip rows. That's going to help. Because what you're looking at is really like you think of as those t-shirt muscles, right? Which is going to be the lower tricep, the brachialis, all that makes your arm look bigger in a t-shirt, you know, and the sleeve is down to just the last, you know, couple inches before the elbow, or, you know, even like midway down the bicep or 2/3 of the way down. That's what you're talking about. Brachialis, and then mainly that outer head on the tricep. Well, you got tons of bench pressing. You're doing heavy presses every single workout. You got flat bench, close grip bench, overhead press, right? All that stuff is in there. So those muscles are going to grow a lot. That's going to help with what you're talking about. Now, that side view, though, of the bicep, or that flexed bicep, that's going to be straight up bicep. Like when you do that, a front double bicep, yeah, that's what you're talking about. But when you're talking about just walking around relaxed in a t-shirt, it's going to be brachialis in your tricep. I mean, I'm not a bodybuilding expert by any means because it's not my forte, but I mean, if you're talking about just looking a certain way when you're in a shirt, yeah, that's the muscles that are going to matter there. And that's what you're talking about for that bicep width, or that arm width down there near the elbow. That, and then the radial brachialis, which also gets worked on the rows. So yeah, you'll be fine. It'll help with that tremendously. Go ahead and put on another 15, 20 pounds of muscle. You're going to see a difference. You're going to see a difference. All right, next question. Happy New Year to you, Jason. As you recently stated, I would be wise to start implementing conditioning work during a bulk and not while cutting. I'm currently bulking and doing your novice 5x5. Going to switch over to your intermediate strength program in a month once my deadlift is back to 4 plates. And I'm thinking about starting with Muay Thai training additionally in order to build some conditioning. Will I be able to recover from this as long as I keep gaining weight, or should I approach this differently? Thanks. Actually, my intermediate program is an off-season program for athletes, right? That's who it's intended for. It's a general template for athletes. Well, isn't Muay Thai a sport? I think it is. I think Muay Thai absolutely qualifies as a sport. Absolutely qualifies as a sport. So, that being said, it's a perfect program for what you're trying to do. Here's what I would say. Get used to your sport before you switch over to the program. In other words, give yourself an acclimation period of about 3 weeks. Start practicing your Muay Thai for about 3 weeks while still lifting, and just try to do a maintenance program. Once you get adapted, you spend 3 full weeks adapting to the conditioning of that, then go on my intermediate off-season program, right? That's what I would recommend you do. But I don't recommend that you start doing new intense conditioning like that on week 1. Give yourself a 3-week acclimation period and then work it in, right? Work it in. What I'm going to say, the off days are good, and then like your Tuesday and Friday type evenings can also work, because you know you have that upper day and then you have the lower day, or however it's broken down. You know what I'm talking about. You have 2 days of training, right? Like, so if you do Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, you'll have 3 days off. If you try to do your Muay Thai in between the 2 workouts the same day like that, I think it's going to be a problem. So let's say you rotated in the common protocol for the upper and lower on that, and you do Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. I think you would do best to do most of your Muay Thai stuff on the second day of the training each day, right? And then maybe Saturdays So I would consider Tuesdays, Fridays, and then Saturdays. Or if you want to do it completely on your off days, you could do it on your 3 off days, and I think that would be fine also. What I wouldn't do, though, is do your martial arts stuff and conditioning work more than 3 days a week on that program on the first phase through it, right? The first 12 weeks through it, I wouldn't do more than 3. If you're capable of building more after that, like when you run a second phase of it, feel free to do so, and I think that'll be okay, but you're going to need a constant amount of practice days for your sport and your conditioning work associated with it during the first full phase of the training, the first 12-week section of it's 12 week set of blocks. And that's what I would recommend personally. Otherwise, you're gonna have adaptation problems. But I think it's totally doable. Totally doable. Like I said, just give yourself 3 weeks to get started and then maintain a constant 3 days consistently all the way through. And then if you want to add a 4th or a 5th day, you need to wait till you've gotten 3 months into the program and you reset it again. And that's how I'd go about doing it. All right, next question and last question of the week. Although technically it looks like he did ask several questions, so I'll just go with a bunch of them. Hey Jason, lots of questions here. I just set up my own home gym of bumper plates and 3/4 inch heavy rubber mats. Will that be enough to protect the floor of my apartment from 400+ pound deadlifts? What are your thoughts on Jefferson deadlifts as an alternative to conventional if you hurt your back? I tried them recently and really liked them. On that note, I love deadlifts, but my back doesn't seem to like them. As it is, I do them once a week, and after a few weeks, my back starts to really get sore for several days after. Should I look into a periodic deload, rotating hex bar or Jefferson deadlift, varying my intensity, 1 set every training day instead of 3 heavy sets one day, or the pyramid method, blah, 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 blah. Okay. As far as your floors go, hoping you're a ground floor, in which case I'm going to tell you to lay plywood down also. Go ahead and lay down a layer of rubber, lay down a layer of plywood, and then another layer of your rubber. That's what I would recommend. That's what I'd recommend personally that you do if you're going to lay it directly on hardwood, right? That's what you need to do. If you're going to lay it on carpet, I would do at least a plywood, then the layer of rubber over that, and be prepared to replace the carpet. In other words, you're not going to get your carpet deposit back if you do that. Be prepared for that. That's just what you need to be aware of. Now, if you're on a 2nd floor or higher, you're going to have neighbors complain if you're deadlifting. I'm going to be frank with you there. That's going to be problematic for you, right? Like in my case, I'm in a condo, not necessarily a normal apartment, and I have a setup to where I only have 1 adjacent wall with anybody. And that room is actually not there. That room is surrounded by brick on its other sides with no adjacent neighbors next to the room I deadlift in. So for me, it's not an issue. But if you're going to do it on a 2nd floor, you need to, number 1, find out about the construction and make sure it's safe for you to do it. Number 2, be ready for complaints from your neighbors. It's something you need to factor in. You need to stick to ground floor stuff. Pick your apartments carefully if you're going to home gym. Now, to your other question, I'm not a fan of Jefferson deadlifts at all. You have access to a hex bar. You can't do a conventional deadlift for whatever reason. I think you need to fix your form. I think you need to fix your technique. The conventional deadlift done correctly is not actually conducive to lower back injuries. It might be time to analyze what you're doing. But if your concern there is torque on the lower back, the hex bar fixes that, and the hex bar is superior to the goofy-ass Jefferson deadlift in every way. So here's my question. If you find that you can't do conventional deadlift, then I think the hex bar is the only viable alternative. I don't think the Jefferson deadlift is really ideal for build-up. I think it's an exercise that lets you just cheat range of motion if you're not careful. I think it gives uneven loading of both sides, right? Because it's going to be hard to consistently place your feet. So it's almost adding a slight squat element to it, but it's not going to be even. In other words, I think it can create muscle imbalances in your quads and hips due to the nature of the exercise with no benefit, right? I don't think there's any benefit to that. It's certainly not any safer for your back. It absolutely is not over a conventional. So you're struggling with the torque issues on the deadlift, but you have access to a hex bar. You're not going to compete in powerlifting, and you want the benefits of a deadlift, then use the hex bar. Use a hex bar, preferably the low handle, and don't think that it carries over. If you're going to do a high handle And then when you build your high handle up to 600, I don't think that you're going to have a 500-pound conventional deadlift. It's not the same thing. That high handle hex bar lets you lift a hell of a lot more eventually. But try to do the low bar if possible, and do a low handle hex bar deadlift if that's what you can do safely on your lower back. But I would try to sort that issue and figure out what's going on with your lower back and see if you can fix that and do conventional. But failing that, I think the hex bar is an amazing exercise. It's an amazing variation for overall size and strength and athleticism. And you'll do just fine with that. Forget these silly ass Jefferson deadlifts just because you've been watching Strap on Destiny. That's where you got it from. And I'm going to recommend that you just do the hex bar instead. All right, guys, well, that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.